Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Chakra Healing Coaching. My name is JR, pronouns he, him, and his. I'm your chakra coach, and I have a phenomenal guest with me today. I have Kim Colby. She is from the Phoenix Farms and Wellness. She is a board certified holistic nurse and a health and wellness nurse coach. So, Kim, just introduce yourself. Tell us about you.
Hi, how's everybody today? Doing good on a very drizzly, wet, slightly chilly day in New Hampshire. Um, Ready for garden time. What would you like to know? Why don't you tell me what you'd like to know? Ah,
Well, that's a good question. Um, I am very, very interested about your your specialty in this coaching world. To be honest, I have not heard of another coach that was doing this. So it excites me because I have clients that deal with this too, and that's ADHD. And really, I think most of us in some form deal with this, but we have
yeah,
clients that have a higher severity of it. So
yeah.
tell us about that coaching. What does that look like for you?
So, what ended up happening for me was I was diagnosed when my children were diagnosed. So I have 30-year-old twin sons. They were 6 or 7, and we were starting to notice some things at school. So we had their school counselor, diagnose them. I went in for the meeting and I'm like, I have all of this stuff. And they're like, yeah, so you have ADHD, it's hereditary. And so I went to my PCP and I said, can I take the test? He's like, sure. We took the test. And he's like, okay, so you have it. Which pill do you want?
Mm,
That was the entire education that I had on ADHD.
wow.
My generation, and I'm not sure how much older I am than you are, JR, but our generation, generally anybody born before like 85 or 90 were really not diagnosed, and girls were never diagnosed. And, as we got older, we had no supports. And there's so many things that we have had to deal with. And my story is when I left my last job and I started this entrepreneurial journey, I went from having that structure of a daily job to building a business, which, as you know, is already difficult enough, but
Hmm.
no structure other than what I was able to implement myself. And I realized at that point in time how much my ADHD affected me on a daily basis. So I started really delving into that. And then naturally, we draw people who we to as clients. So something like
Right?
80% of my clients ended up having ADHD. So I really, as I was learning, started to become a part of what I was teaching them on how to navigate through it. Whether you use medications or not, there's still a lot of put in place for you to understand that there's nothing wrong with you. Your brain just works differently. So
Hmm.
that's sort of where the ADHD focus started for me anyway.
Nice. And I really like the way that you just said that last little hook on there is that nothing is wrong with you. It just works
Oh,
differently.
yeah.
You know?
We live in a neurotypical world with a neurodivergent brain, and it's like you're wanting to make an apple pie and you're in a peach forest. You don't
Mhm.
have the tools because they're never taught to you. Now they are starting today, even kids that are diagnosed today really do not get a ton of education about how to manage it or what it means. It is, again, which med do you want?
Right,
So
yeah. Do you want the blue pill or the red pill?
yes, yes. Whichever one takes me back into the matrix so that I can have that big, thick, juicy.
So, well, you've told us a little bit about your journey and how you dealt with it, which I didn't know. And I love that, we do attract our tribe, right?
Oh yeah, very
Yeah,
much.
and it takes someone in the tribe to know um, the resources or the tools to help our tribe.
Yeah.
So if a client were to come to you, for some kind of ADHD like coaching, how
Mhm.
would that be a little bit different than what they could get anywhere else?
So I there are that are doing ADHD coaching, and I don't want to say that I'm like the best, because even though I think I am, that's just the neurotypical narcissism that comes through. But when you have ADHD, it's oftentimes a chicken and egg situation. So most of the time, health disorders, and those are often treated with various different ways, different techniques, and things like that. But often, if you can get to the bottom of what some of your ADHD symptomology is, that can really help you figure out how to function better in your life. So when I work with my clients, if I know that they're coming with some questions about ADHD, obviously I'm a board certified health and wellness nurse coach. So go over some of their mental health history. So we do some of those basic nursing type things. But we also look at how is it affecting them in their daily life, where they want to be, a lot of motivational interviewing, what is this doing for you? How is this affecting your life? Because just because something with my ADHD doesn't mean you do, or Joe or Tina or Bubba or anybody has any. We watched Forrest Gump last night. So whoever it is, we are all the master of our own ADHD. So I can't just teach. When I do my ADHD group coaching, I have it very generalized and we go over things in a more general manner. But then we have our hot seat portion where we can how these things affect you. So I need to understand the core of what your ADHD is. And then we talk about whether or not you've had can be treated with diet, lifestyle change, sleep. And some of us, when we have low, that can really exacerbate our ADHD as well. So getting to the basis of it from a medical standpoint and then looking at the symptomology is a real important way to come about this, because even if you do take medications, you still want to be able to function even when the meds aren't there. So learning, and ADHD has a lot of trauma around it. A lot of the symptomology has rejection, sensitivity dysphoria. There's all sorts of things that we just think are wrong with us because we don't world. So learning that you're fine, you are whole, you are enough, you are all of those things that we do naturally in coaching anyway is incredibly important, because, excuse me, we've never fit the mold. School is either really difficult, we're always late, we're always early. Money is a huge issue with people with ADHD, impulsivity, relationships. So I really want people to understand that your brain just works different. You're not broken.
Yeah. I pose a question all the time is, what is normal?
Yeah.
I mean, truly,
Exactly.
and I try to say that with many different people, but I mean, when it comes down to it, what's normal? Because we're all unique and we're all different.
Yep.
So if I had to define normal, it'd be your own uniqueness. That's normal.
Yeah. I struggle sometimes with the way that, excuse me, the world really, anybody that has a quirk that is not societally acceptable is seen as being different. Well, my quirk might just be a little bit more outward than your quirk or somebody else's quirk. We all have, as my grandma used to say, we all have our warts and our wrinkles. They just, some places are not as noticeable for others. I mean, if it's right here, you're going to notice it. If it's on your bum, you're not going to see it.
Right. I love that example. Well, tell us some fun facts about you that the normal Joe wouldn't know.
Oh, let's see. I'm a twin mom. My boys were born at 26 weeks, so they were about 2.5 pounds each, a
Oh
little
my
less than
gosh.
2.5 pounds, and now they're 30, and I have 6 grandchildren. Um, I'm an avid gardener. I have in my basement right now about 1,800 seedlings for a plant sale that I do for my farm every year.
Dang.
I'm a beekeeper. Yeah,
Cool.
I love my farm stuff. I love being with my family. I love to read. And let's see, something else. No. Well, I'm going to out myself here because I'm out in most places.
Ooh.
My husband is fully disabled and years. And 7, almost 8 years ago, we opened up our marriage because I really missed having a partner that I could go out and do things with. He's very much a homebody, was even before his disability kind of exacerbated things for that. But I wanted to have a things with and have a physical relationship with. And so we're polyamorous, and he has a partner in his life that is able to provide him with things that I don't. I'm not um, an early to go to bed, like I'm much later. I don't like a lot of the same he does. So he has a companion that he's able to have that sort of an emotional relationship with. And I'm actually, I love saying this. I'm currently, and I like talking about that because our marriage works for us.
Hmm.
He is my best friend. He is my life partner. And he is the person that brings me so much joy in my life. But we're going to be together for a lot longer. And was it okay for
Hmm.
me to have to go without a physical relationship with somebody? Or do
Hmm.
we opened our marriage? And I want people to start to understand that um, polyamory and alternative lifestyles is just a different way to love somebody else. And when people ask me and they sort of get really frustrated with my explanation, I'll say, listen, I love cheddar. I love Gouda. I love mozzarella. Don't make me choose. So it doesn't mean that I'm out there, being a bad person. I just have chosen a different lifestyle. And it really works for us. And we have a family.
Hmm.
I'm very close with his partner, and the partner that I ended things with a few months ago, still very close. And my husband and him were really good friends. So it's more about creating a community where there's a lot of love involved. So,
Ah, yes, yeah. I was just talking to somebody last night, actually, and they were talking about their unique relationship. And that's what she brought up. She goes, "It's just more love,"
mhm.
you know?
It always
So,
reminds me of, I don't know if you remember the TV show Friends.
mhm,
At the end of the first season, when Ross's son was being born, and Ross and Susan, I think her name was, were fighting
mhm,
over who got to be in with his ex-wife when the baby was born.
right.
He is already so lucky. They have so much love and so many people that want to be there for them. And that's sort of how I've always felt.
Mm,
Because the more people that we can bring into our lives, whether we create a family or not, is just making things extra special. Yeah.
yep, totally.
But I think that that's a big part of me. And I think that where a lot of my need to create a community comes from is that I moved away from my parents when I was in my, early 30s, and a very large family in some ways. But I think all of us have ADHD, and one of the problems with ADHD is out of sight, out of mind. There's a definite issue with object permanence. And having a community that you see on a constant basis when you have, and creating a family of your own when you just honestly, I forget to call my mother, or I forget to call my brother, or other people in my life. And it's not that I don't love them, it's that I
Mhm.
don't see them on a daily basis, and I don't have that connection with them the same way that I used to. So bringing it kind of back to ADHD, a big portion of what is important to me is creating a community, both in my community and in what it is that I'm doing. So
Mhm.
I try to tie all the things that I do together so that it's all about health and wellness. Like my farm is very much all about teaching people how to garden. I do workshops for people, or I'm going to be starting doing workshops for people where I come into your home, I bring my equipment, I teach you how to can, how to ferment, how to
Wow.
do those homesteady type things that we're losing, but that help bring that level of health back into your body. I mean, would you rather have granola bars that you make every ingredient? Or would you rather have the Quaker ones that you can't read half of what it says?
Exactly. Yes.
Don't get me wrong. I love myself some good bad things for me. I love, like all dressed up chips and all that stuff, but there will never be anything as good as the stuff that you put your heart and love into.
Hmm.
So
100%. Yes. So, what inspired you? And it may just because of upbringing, but the farm aspect. What inspired that part?
well, if I can be incredibly transparent, which I have no trouble with being, when COVID hit, we had just got back into our house where I'm in now. We bought the house in 2018 in the beginning. And at that end of the year, 6 days before Christmas, we had a house fire. And we lost our pets. We lost contents of our house. They were able to rebuild the house from the
Gosh.
outside in, but 2019 was horrible because it took almost a year to get the house rebuilt. And we went into 2020 thinking, yeah, this is going to be the best year ever. No.
Oh my
So I,
God.
yeah. So I went from working in the insurance company, and I had left my job at the visiting nurses because I wanted to have coworkers. For any of you out there that have done visiting nursing, it is incredibly rewarding, but the only people that you see are your patients, and those aren't comrades. Those are not colleagues. They are your patients.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have the comrades. I wanted to the let's go get lunch and let's go for a walk.
Mm.
And I started there end of the summer of 2019, and then February or March, whatever it was, I'm back in my kitchen where now I'm not even out seeing clients.
Mhm.
I love my conversational ability of a garden slug, and I would have more conversations with the dog than I would with him. So I was incredibly struggling with not having anything outside of this day job that I was no longer being fulfilled by.
Yeah.
So I grew up on a farm, a dairy farm with about 400 head of dairy cows. And my family had had a chicken, an egg production company in Vermont, my uncle. And so I've always been around farming. I've been canning since I was, I don't know, old enough to sit at the table and cut vegetables or stand in front of the stove and do it. I mean, I literally have memories from being in kindergarten. Excuse me. So these were all big things that were such a part of me. And I tried to do in other places that we had lived. But when we bought this property, we bought it for the 2 acres that we have. So I set to work doing the gardening and all of that and setting up gardens. But it was difficult because of the cost of building materials.
Mhm.
My plan had been, honestly, to leave traditional nursing altogether. I was so disgruntled with the healthcare system that I wanted to be able to build and be able to, make money doing all of that and no longer have it be that I was reliant on an outside job.
Mhm.
And it's incredibly difficult to do those things when you do not have a spouse that can help with them. Uh, he's not capable of doing some of the things. He gets grossed out at blood and guts and anything that, so that was not going to happen with him helping to do butcher or anything like that. But then it was also, being able to maintain a lot of this stuff is really difficult when you're first starting. So that's when I found the Nurse Coach Collective.
Mm.
So that ended up being where I shifted things to, but the farm has always been something that's been part of me. I left Vermont on purpose because I did not want to deal with a farm anymore. And my father jokes with me. He's like, you left the farm, but you made one of your own. I mean, granted, my farm is tiny. It's not 400 head of dairy cattle. It is 40 chickens, one beehive right now, and one rabbit for poo. I mean, for fertilizer for the garden.
Uh-huh.
So it's not like it's a big farm, but I also do a large garden. I have 100 tomato plants to go in as soon as the weather allows me.
Wow.
So it's a big part of who I am, and it always has been.
Oh, yeah. I just started a small little garden myself. We'll see how it goes. But
You need any advice, just ask. I mean, I don't know how your soil is and all of that stuff down there, but basics, I grow everything. From brassicas, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. I grow a ton of medicinal and culinary herbs.
yeah.
Corn, onions, garlic. I have 500 bulbs of garlic going in the garden right now, and I just will be planting my onions tomorrow.
And you say
To
it's a small garden?
me, it's not. Yeah, no, it's a big garden.
It's just not the grand garden, right?
Correct. But I mean, I utilize it all. So like what we don't eat, the chickens eat. So it's all
Mhm.
about creating that symbiosis. So I don't
Yeah.
I don't see it as being like I'm wasting anything because I can give a good portion of what we don't use, like the leftovers, things that rot or, aren't okay for human consumption. Those can
Hmm.
go to the chickens or go in the compost pile. Started the bees for the pollination because when
Yeah.
you have, 20 cucumber plants that need to be pollinated or 100 tomato plants. So the part of what I want my mark on the world to be is we can create a life that we enjoy.
Mm.
We can be healthy. We can do all of those things. And a lot of it starts with small, simple steps. My favorite YouTuber has a saying, turn your waiting room into a class. And what that means is if you live in an apartment and you can't have a giant garden where you can supply all your own fruits and vegetables, get a hydroponics thing where you can at least try some herbs.
Mm.
Or if you have a balcony, put a tomato thing. Learn how to cook with cast iron. So whatever it is that you're doing while you're sitting there in that waiting room, hoping to get to where your end goal is, utilize the lessons that you have access to. And I talk about this a lot with both my ADHD group, my private clients, and with anything else that I do within the stream of different things that I offer. Because we don't have to sit and wait for our life to start for us. We can really bound ahead and learn so that way when you do have that 2 acres or when you do have that little garden plot in the back, you've watched how to grow tomatoes or you've learned how to make cheese. There are so many
Yeah.
things that you can learn in this world that do
Oh,
not
yeah.
require money, extra time, and do not require you to have where your goals want you to be yet. And I
Hmm.
love that.
I love the passion behind that. I could feel that from you.
Yeah. There's so many different ways out there to step into who you are.
Mm.
And whether that is a crunchy earth mama or papa, whether that is a city slicker that just wants to be able to cook good food, whether that is whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Just feel the passion. You live one life. You have
Hmm.
one circle around this earth. And regardless of whether you have beliefs that are reincarnation or we go to heaven
Hmm.
or whatever, you have one time on this earth in this
Timeline.
entity. Yeah.
Yes. Hmm.
So enjoy it. And I've
Yeah.
really stopped looking at, I don't want to work to live. I think I want to work to live, not live. I would say that
Right.
backwards. I don't know
I get you. Yeah.
why.
Yeah. Well, Kim, we are getting very close to our time. So before we end, I always like to throw this question is if someone is thinking about going with an ADH coach or a coach in general that, you are highlighted for them for whatever reason, what why would they choose you? What would you say is the factor saying this is why you should come to me?
I would love people to come to me if they feel like they want to get further in their life. I'm sort of doing a minor rebranding about not just being about the ADHD, but about productivity and progressing in your world, progressing in your,
Mm.
whether that is in, getting more connected with your local community, whether that is about learning how to function. I offer a free discovery call because I think it's really important that the person that I'm working with and I have a good rapport. When I was first
Mhm.
looking for a coach, my very first coach, I interviewed 5 people. I took
Mhm.
notes. And then I made a decision not based on, oh my God, I love this person. I'm going to sign a contract right now. Like I wrote out the notes and then I went back and I remembered and connected with that, what I connected with that.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that there be that connection with somebody because coaching is incredibly intimate. It's vulnerable.
Mhm.
I need to feel that connection with the person as well.
Yeah.
As for me for ADHD coaching, I have worked my butt off for 53 years, 52, to try to get where I am. And I can tell you that when my children were born, I was a single mother living on welfare.
Mm.
I have worked hard in the last 30 years to go from having nothing
Yeah.
to building a life in a farm and having a beautiful marriage, 2 beautiful kids who are starting their own businesses themselves because they feel that support and connection. And I've worked hard and I want to be able to help. I want to be able to help other people reach their goals, whatever they are. Learn how to
Mm.
pivot, learn how to take this ADHD that society tells us is a disability. It is actually listed as a disability on job applications. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And turn it into a superpower.
Yeah. Right.
Learn
100%.
things that you struggle with, find ways that help you make it so that it helps you shine in your individuality.
Mhm. I love that.
Thank you.
Well, everyone, if you are wanting to reach out to Kim, she's very passionate about what she's doing, and I love this. Almost makes me want to say, "Hey, I'll do something." So,
Well,
right, yeah. So, how do you get a hold of her? Well, you have different options, and I'll have them below the screen right now. But you can go to phoenixfarmsandwellness.com. Another way is if you want to do email, it's Kim Colby at phoenixfarmsandwellness.com. If you are an avid Facebook person, more like myself, you can look her up as Kim. Is that Devoid? Is that right? Yes, okay. Kim Devoid Kobe on Facebook and Instagram, it's Phoenix Farms NH. And then if you would like to get a hold of her by phone, it's 603-803-3256. So I appreciate you, Kim, for being on the show today. I've learned quite a bit from our small little time together.
thank you. It's been lovely, and I love educating.
Well, thank you, and I hope to have you on the show again sometime because I think we could probably expand a lot more on just the small details that you shared today.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I would love that.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.